have Mr. Carter on the line.
Put him through.
I have a problem. There's a man in my office with a gun who says that he's going to kill me if we don't pay him back $130,000 that one of our lieutenants stole from him.
It's 70. Look.
How much is this guy Carter worth to you?
What do you mean?
My money, yes or no?
No.
He trusted the wrong woman, worked with the wrong men, took a bullet for 70 grand. And when he came back, no one was happy to see him. This isn't a comeback story. It's a correction. This is Payback, the version that slipped past the censors, lit a cigarette, and didn't wait for permission. He wasn't a hero, not even close. He wasn't even a villain with style, just a guy who wanted his money. Porter walks into Payback like he's been through a dozen bad choices and 2 worse women. Played by Mel Gibson, Porter is a man carved from concrete and stitched together with bruises. He doesn't talk much, he doesn't blink often, and he doesn't forgive. The movie opens with him getting patched up by a drunk back-alley doctor. He's got bullets in him, betrayal behind him, and a city that smells like cigarettes, steel, and spoiled ambition. It only gets worse from there. Payback isn't a noir homage. It's a noir animal. Ferocious, dirty, shot through a pale blue filter that makes every scene feel like it's happening underwater or in purgatory. It's a film where you can almost hear the furniture coughing from secondhand smoking. Porter was double-crossed by his wife and his partner. They stole his share of a heist, $70,000. Not $1 million, not a fortune, just 70 grand. Enough to start over. Enough to feel like the world still makes sense. But it doesn't. That's the whole story. Porter wants his cut back. Not more. Not revenge. Just wants his. And for the next 100 minutes, he moves through the underworld like a corpse looking for a refund. He takes beatings. He dishes them out. He kills. He shrugs. He negotiates with bullets. Every time someone tells him the money's gone or that it's not worth dying over, he responds the same way. It's not yours. And that's where the film slips into something rare. It's not about justice. It's about mathematics. A ledger that needs balancing. A man so singular in purpose, he becomes mythic. But Payback didn't come easy. Here's something most casual viewers don't know. The version that hit theaters in February 1999 isn't the one director Brian Helgeland originally made. His cut, grittier, darker, meaner, was taken away by the studio. Too cold, they said, too bleak and too noir. So they brought in a second director, reshot a third of the film, added voiceover, gave Porter a conscience and a woman to care about, even softened the ending. The theatrical version became a hit, but the Helgeland cut? It stayed in the shadows, surfacing years later as Payback straight up the director's cut. And here's the twist. Both versions work, but for entirely different reasons. The theatrical release is the more fun one. More quips, more rhythm, more Gibson swagger. But the director's cut? That's a cold slab of post-Vietnam alienation. A movie with no smiles, no compromises, and no humanity to spare. Porter isn't just a man. He's a ghost from an older world. He walks into offices made of brushed steel and bulletproof glass and speaks in short and final sentences. His enemies are corporations with muscle, syndicates with ties, mobsters in designer coats. He doesn't fit here. He's not scalable. He's an analog revenge in a digital world. The syndicate Porter goes up against, the mysterious outfit, isn't just a gang. It's a metaphor for late 90s capitalism. It's bureaucracy wrapped in bloodstains. Porter isn't fighting criminals. He's fighting the idea that you can't just demand what's yours anymore. You have to apply, submit, and negotiate. Porter doesn't. He kicks in the door. The way Porter never eats, he drinks. smokes, and gets patched up. But not once does he consume food. Like he's not entirely human. Like revenge has replaced appetite. The man's running on rage and rhythm. Blue filter wasn't just stylistic. It was a post-production choice meant to literally drain the warmth from every frame. There's almost no red in the movie, except for blood. It's as if the film itself rejects emotion. Chris Christopherson's late-game appearance? He plays Bronson, the head of the outfit. By the time he shows up, you realize this isn't a rising arc. It's a descending spiral. And Bronson is just the last floor of the hell Porter has to descend. They have no history, no personal grudge. That's what makes it scarier. Killing Bronson isn't climax, it's accounting. Payback doesn't reinvent the wheel. It doesn't need to. It just takes the wheel, straps it to a brick, and rolls it down a hill full of broken glass. It's a B-movie elevated by A-list execution. But more than that, it's a statement. In a decade full of slick heroes with moral arcs and lessons learned, Payback gave us something closer to reality. A man with a number, a reason, and a gun. And when he finally walks away with his money, he's not smiling. He's not satisfied. He's just done. Because in Noir, there's no redemption, just completion. Nobody talks about how Payback is structured like trauma. There's no real rising action, no building arc. Just a man waking up with holes in him and trying to stitch together a world that makes sense. Every scene is fragmented. Every location is self-contained. The city feels disconnected, as if it's not one place but 10 disjointed nightmares stitched together by taxi rides and gunshots. That's how PTSD survivors describe memory. No transitions and time doesn't flow, it stutters. And that's what Payback does. Porter's story unfolds like he's reliving it, not living it. Helgeland wanted that intentionally. The whole film was meant to feel like a half-conscious recollection of something. Brutal, unfolding out of order, emotionally numb, morally void. The pieces only make sense when you stop trying to connect them and just feel them. 70 grand isn't just a small sum in the world of crime films. It's an absurd one. In Heat, guys risk their lives for millions. In The Town, it's bags of cash and armored trucks, but in Payback, Porter wants a number you could find in a single briefcase. A number that most crime bosses call not worth our time. And that's the point. Porter's journey isn't rational. It's obsessive, compulsive. The 70 grand is the last thing tethering him to the world before he was shot, betrayed, and buried. It's not about buying a future. It's about proving the past happened. About making the math work again. What's interesting? In the original Donald E. Westlake novel, The Hunter, written under the name Richard Stark, the amount was $45,000. They bumped it for the movie, but not by much, because anything more would make it feel practical. And Payback doesn't deal in practicality. It deals in principle. Let's talk about the women. You've got Lynn, Deborah Kara Unger, the wife who sells Porter out. Cold, damaged, numbed out from dope and guilt. She doesn't last long. Then there's Rosie, Maria Bello, the call girl with a heart of gold. Except not really. She's not a savior. She's not a plot device. She's a mirror. Porter likes her because she doesn't need saving. She's numb too, but functional. They don't have chemistry. They have parallel scars. But here's something even deeper. Every woman in this film is more emotionally intelligent than Porter. They see the world for what it is. He sees it for what he wants it to be. That's why they survive longer. They adapt. Porter's out here trying to brute force a world that no longer exists. Even the dominatrix played by Lucy Liu, her role seems cartoonish on first glance. But look closer. She's the only character who fully understands power. She controls it, sells it, manipulates it. She's not crazy. She's clear-eyed. She's what Porter used to be before the rules stopped making sense. There's a hidden genre in cinema that doesn't get its due, the code film. Not spy thrillers, not mysteries, but stories where the protagonist has a personal code they follow to the bitter end. No matter how irrational, no matter how destructive, Porter is a knight without a castle, a samurai without a master, a man governed by one unbreakable law. He doesn't deviate. doesn't compromise, doesn't grow. In fact, the more the world tells him his code is outdated, the more committed he becomes. That's where the movie gets its tension, not in whether he'll win, but in how much reality he'll destroy trying. You can trace this lineage back to Jean-Pierre Melville films, The Samurai, even to Peckinpah. But what Payback does is bury that idea inside a slick, blue-filtered revenge movie and let the audience believe it's something simpler. Chris Christopherson's character, Bronson, heads the outfit. But he's not a mobster in the classic sense. He's a suit, a CEO, and he delivers lines like he's sitting on a corporate board. And that wasn't an accident. Helgeland, who had just won an Oscar for LA Confidential, hated the system he found himself in. Studios, agents, execs, everyone smiling while they stabbed. Bronson and the outfit are satirical stand-ins for that. Machine, bureaucracy with a body count. Systems that don't bleed when you shoot them. That's why Porter's crusade feels futile. He's not fighting men. He's fighting infrastructure. And if you look real close at Bronson's dialogue, you'll catch corporate lingo slipped into gangster speech. We've absorbed losses. You're not scalable. This could set a precedent. It's a mob movie written by a guy who hated Hollywood's boardrooms. The film's music, by Chris Boardman and Scott Stambler, is anxious, off-rhythm, drums that sound like they're holding their breath, guitars that wander around the scale like they're looking for a place to land. It doesn't groove. It shuffles. This isn't just style. It's psychological design. The score mimics Porter's damaged inner world. There's no triumph in the music. No melody. It sounds like the inside of someone who can't sleep, can't feel, and can't go back. Even in shootouts, the score never gets heroic. That's important. Payback doesn't want you to root for Porter. It wants you to observe him, like a lab rat. Payback walks a strange tightrope. It's not art house. It's not popcorn. It's a studio film made by people trying to smuggle something real past the guards. And somehow, it worked. It gives us a main character who doesn't change, doesn't redeem, doesn't learn. And we follow him anyway. Why? Because in a world full of sellouts, someone sticking to the plan, even a bad one, starts to feel sacred. Payback is about principle in a world that no longer recognizes it. It's about a man who wants nothing more than what he was owed, and will tear down a skyscraper to get it. In the end, maybe Porter isn't a man at all. Maybe he's just a glitch in the system. A cold hand knocking on the door that says, balance the books, or else. Payback isn't perfect. It's pulpy. It's uneven. It got cut to pieces and stitched back together under fluorescent lights. But it's still one of the most honest crime films of its time. It doesn't care about good guys or bad guys. It doesn't sell you lessons. It sells you reality, through the lens of a man who just wants the world to honor a debt. And when the money finally lands in his lap, there's no joy, just silence. Because this was never about satisfaction. It was about balance. In the end, Porter doesn't get what he needs, but he gets what he's owed. And in Noir, that's as close to heaven as it gets. Payback, one of the only Hollywood revenge films that actually understands revenge. It doesn't glorify it. It doesn't even make it look satisfying. It just shows you what it costs. And it does something even rarer. It lets the lead character stay broken. Not because he deserves it, but because some things don't get fixed. Some say he got what he came for. Others say he took more than he let on. Truth is, the movie doesn't tell you. It just watches him leave. What do you think? Was 70 grand enough? Or was that just the price of walking away clean? Tell me down below. I'll be here, waiting for the next story.